groups and working independently during our lesson. We will be using a voice level 2 during discussion, which means inside voices, and we'll be using voice level 0, which means no talking while we're watching videos and listening to teacher instruction. If you need to get up out of your seat, just raise your hands. If you have any questions, same procedure, raise your hand and I'll be happy to answer your question. We will be watching a short video about shapes and we'll be using voice level 0.
My mom told me to get in shape, so I climbed up into a triangle. My dad said he's out of shape. He looks a little bit like a rhombus. Yeah, shapes in the place. Got some shapes in your face. We got the shapes in the place.
Let's say one line is riding along, going straight as lines like to do. He meets up with his friend Hansel. And where they meet, they form an angle. Angles are measured in degrees. Spin all the way around, that's 360. If you take a right turn, that's 90. So a right angle has 90 degrees. A right angle, that's what you get in a square. You might even find it in a triangle. If it's less than 90 degrees, it's acute. If it's more than 90 degrees, it's obtuse. If it's less than 90, it's acute. I said if it's more than 90, it's obtuse. If it's 90, then it's right. You know it's nice, and yeah, it's right. Oh, we got some shapes coming all up into place. You know, yeah, I know. So get ready for the next episode. Oh, we got some shapes coming all up into place. You know, yeah, I know. So get ready for the next episode. A square is a four-sided shape with 4 right angles and 4 equal sides. So you can spin it like a top, and when it stops, it's gonna look the same. A rectangle is a four-sided shape with 4 right angles. So a square is a kind of rectangle, but not a rectangle's a square. Is that clear? A parallelogram is a four-sided shape with 2 pairs of parallel sides. So a square, yes. A rectangle, yes. A rhombus, yes. Those are all parallelograms. A rhombus is the four-sided shape where every side is the same length. So a square is a kind of rhombus. So is a diamond. I'll keep rhyming. A trapezoid is a four-sided shape with 1 pair of parallel sides. So it looks kind of funny just sitting there. A trapezoid is definitely not a square. Oh, we got some shapes coming all up into place. You know, yeah, I know. So get ready for the next episode. Oh, we've got some shapes coming all up into place. You know, yeah, I know. So get ready for the next episode.
Our objective for today is to be able to identify attributes of quadrilaterals, recognize and identify rhombuses, rectangles, and squares as examples of quadrilaterals, and identify and group examples of quadrilaterals. Repeat after me. Given 10 shapes, in a graphic organizer worksheet, the students will categorize shapes according to specific attributes with 8 out of 10 correct answers. All right, before we begin instruction, I want you to write down the definition of a quadrilateral in your notes. A quadrilateral is a shape with 4 sides and 4 angles. As I go along, I'm going to copy down different shapes on my chart, and you can also copy them down in your notes. I'm going to walk around the class and I'm going to point out different shapes that are either quadrilaterals or non-quadrilaterals, and I'm going to write them down in my chart. I'll begin with this napkin. I can tell that it's a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides and 4 angles, so I'm going to write it in my chart under quadrilateral. And since it has 4 equal sides, I know that it's called a square. Next, if I pick up this chip, I can see that it's not a quadrilateral because it only has 3 sides and 3 angles. A shape with 3 sides and 3 angles is called a triangle. Next, we have this hexagon. I know it's a hexagon because hexagons have 6 sides and 6 angles. So I would classify it as not a quadrilateral. And next I have my coaster. My coaster is considered a circle because it goes all the way around in 360 degrees and it has no sides and no angles. So it's not a quadrilateral and it's called a circle. If I walk over to this window, I notice that it has 4 sides, it has 4 angles, but it's not a square because all 4 sides are not equal. It has 2 longer sides than the other 2. So I would put that as a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides and 4 angles. And like I said, it's called a rectangle. And finally, if I look at this picture, I can say the same thing that I said about the window. It's a rectangle, it has 4 sides and 4 angles, and that would be classified as a quadrilateral. We can go ahead and copy this into our notes now. Now we are going to engage in a movement activity. I'll start by naming a shape, and you will stand up or sit down depending on what that shape is. If I say circle, you would stay seated because it's not a quadrilateral. If I say square, you would stand up because it is a quadrilateral. So if it's a quadrilateral, we stand. If it's not, we sit. Is a rectangle a quadrilateral?
Yes.
Can you describe some of the attributes that tell us a rectangle is a quadrilateral?
It has 4 sides and 4 angles.
Perfect. A circle. How do we know a circle is not a quadrilateral?
Because it's 360 degrees and it has no angles.
A triangle. Okay, why is a triangle not a quadrilateral?
It only has 3 sides and 3 angles.
Now for our independent work, we are going to complete our handout. We'll start by cutting out each shape and pasting it onto the next page. So once you cut out your shapes, you're going to determine whether or not the shape is considered a quadrilateral or not a quadrilateral. You'll use your glue to paste the shapes into the appropriate square and the scissors to cut them out. And then you'll go ahead and you'll name your shape. For example, if your shape is a circle, then you'll write circle on the line. Now that I see her work is done, I can begin grading. And according to my objective, she met at least 8 out of 10 correct answers. She got 100% on her assessment, so I know that she met the objective. Now that we've met our objective, we can summarize what we did today in our lesson. Repeat after me. Students will be able to identify attributes of quadrilaterals,
identify attributes of quadrilaterals,
recognize and identify rhombuses,
Recognize and identify rhombuses,
rectangles,
rectangles,
and squares
and squares
as examples of quadrilaterals,
as example of quadrilaterals,
and identify and group
and identify and group
non-examples of quadrilaterals.
non-examples of quadrilaterals.
Okay, thumbs up if we can point to a quadrilateral. Thumbs down if we're not so sure. Okay, go ahead and point to a quadrilateral in the room. Perfect! It has 4 sides and 4 angles, right?
Yes.
Okay. Today we learned about quadrilaterals, various shapes, and their attributes. We learned that some shapes may look very different, but that doesn't mean they don't have anything in common. The same thing can be said about ourselves. We're all different and unique, but we still have some common characteristics. Now I'm going to ask you a few closing questions just to summarize what we learned today. Can you think of why it's important to know the different types of shapes that we encounter every day?
Yes, it's good for like reading signs like stop signs by knowing the shape.
Perfect. How can being able to classify shapes help us in the future?
Well, we can draw better if you know what the shapes are. You could draw a better house.
That's a good example. And finally, predict what would happen if nobody knew any of their shapes.
You would be able to build things because you couldn't build a circular door and put it on a house.
Perfect.